Hello and welcome to the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative podcast. My name is Rim. I'm an artist, a certified life coach and an NLP practitioner, and the creator of the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative retreats. Passionate about celebrating joy and beauty in the everyday, especially when things are falling apart, I'm insatiably curious about human nature, and I look into the world with reverence, awe, and a sense of wonder. Tune in for stories exploring healing through creativity, art, embracing sensitivity, and navigating the subconscious mind. I'll talk about the struggles that highly sensitive and creative people face, and share my experiences, insights, and favorite tools along the way. I'm here to empower you to turn what we often deem to be a curse into your biggest gift. I believe that the more we create together, the more we heal the world. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative podcast. I'm so happy and grateful for you tuning in. Happy New Year, my friends. I hope you had a smooth transition from 2023 to 2024. And yeah, it's already the end of January, but it's never too late to wish a happy new year. I personally care less and less about the change of year. I mean, I like celebrations, like always, but I used to take it too seriously, and then I would be bound to be disappointed once it was over. So now I'm more like, not that big a deal. In the sense that every day can be a special day, every day can be a celebration if we choose to. And it's also okay not to feel like celebrating on some days and on some years. Like, let's celebrate ourselves from all these societal pressures. Yeah, that being said, I do have some big news to share, and they are of the celebratory type. I've done something that was a bit scary for me, but that I've wanted to do for years, and that is, drum roll please, I've adopted a dog. So, I didn't think I was gonna talk too much about this today, but then as I was preparing for this episode, I felt like, actually, this is an interesting story that has so many insightful points, if I may say so myself, for us sensitive and creative souls. So I want to talk about unconditional love and animals and in all the ways they are amazing creatures. And you know how so often humankind can be so disappointing. So I always feel like, and I'm embracing this, the older I get, I feel like taking time observing and being with animals, it's so soothing and healing for us sensitive souls. Because honestly, I like humans, but sometimes, when you think about all of the hardship in the world, they're all caused by humans. So I don't want to go into that, that story, humans are bad, No, there are some amazing things humans do as well, of course, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, I think we human beings, the human species, would learn so much from spending more time with animals. I wish I had spent more time with animals when I was a child. I would have learned so much more about empathy, about unconditional love, about slowing down, about being in the present moment, and joy and self-care as well, and forgiving. But anyway, the story I want to share today is about timing. So when I was 16, my last year at home, living with my family, it was my last year of high school, and we got a dog. It was a rescue dog. Her name was Balto, and she was the best. A very smart dog, like we didn't know, we were not aware back then. I mean, I talk about me and my family. We didn't really know much about animals and how to take care of them, and we didn't know all the things we know now about, animal behaviors and all of these things. There was no internet, and there was not much awareness, at least in the country we were living in at that time. There was not much awareness about, how to take care about them. But we just loved her, and we did our best. We had a garden, so we let her in the garden, but we didn't really educate her. But she didn't need. She was very, very intelligent and very easily adapted to her new life, and like she was very clean and behaving very well and not aggressive at all. She was like seriously the best dog. And the year after I left for Paris, so I left my home, my family home. I left to do my secondary studies. But the next Christmas, so 6 months later, I came back for the holidays, for the Christmas holidays. And I was sick with a huge cold. I spent the first half of the holidays in bed with high fever. And that dog Balto, she stayed on my bed the whole time, warming me up and cuddling me. The way I think only dogs can be so kind and full of love, and they are so loyal, so giving. I'll never forget her expression, her kind eyes, her gentleness, her care, her warmth. But unfortunately, after that time, I never saw her again. Shortly afterwards, my parents divorced. My mom and my sister left the country. They moved to France as well. And my dad kept the dog, and I kind of never saw my dad anymore. And so this was more than 20 years ago. And since then, my dad passed away. The dog passed away before I could see her again, but I've always kept her memory, and I could never forget this special feeling of love. Like I loved her even before I got sick, but I felt so great. I feel so grateful still to these days for her kindness and her care when I was sick. It's like really an amazing feeling. It was a wonderful moment. I'm so thankful to her for being so kind. But, life moved on, and I had this at the back of my mind, but I was a bit silly back then. I didn't think much, I was not that conscious about animals and their feelings. I didn't know. And so anyway, my life took another turn, but many years later, so that's about maybe 6 years ago, something like that, I was in Shanghai and I wanted to adopt a dog. I thought about this back then, and I felt, maybe that's the moment now to have a dog again and care for her or him and kind of give back to my new dog all the love that Balto, that other dog gave me when I was sick. And I found one that I really loved, that seemed really nice for me. I found he was very cute. He was also a rescue dog. His name was Dizzy. And when I saw him, I felt my heart, melting so much. By the way, I'm only into adopting rescue pets. For me, I mean, everybody is entitled to make their own choice. But for me, I would always only adopt rescue stray dogs and cats. It breaks my heart to see so many abandoned animals in the streets. But back to Dizzy, that story took a painful turn when its foster family changed their mind after Dizzy's first night with me. It was really annoying because I remember when I met them, I told them, well, you've been fostering him for... Okay, now I don't remember how many months, but you've been fostering for several months. It was at least several months. So you got attached to him. Are you sure you don't want to keep him? And they were like, no, we can't. We want to travel. We can't keep him. I was like, are you sure? And they say, yes. So I was okay, it's fine. So I took him and he spent the first night with me. And, it was new. So just just the time to bond a little bit. And the day after, the woman from the pet association, she came. She said, okay, I'm gonna take him to do his vaccination and I will bring him back in a couple of hours. I was like, okay, thanks. And then 10 minutes later, after she got into the taxi with him, she texted me and she was like, oh, the foster family changed their mind. They missed him terribly that first night, so they realized it was a mistake. They want to keep him, so because they were with him before, I decide that I will give the dog back to them. They have priority over you. Sorry. And that's it. And I never got a chance to say goodbye to the dog. And I remember at the time I felt so sad. And I thought, okay, maybe that's a sign I'm not meant to have a dog. Because I was a bit scared, honestly. It's a big thing. And because I never, after that dog back when I was a teenager, it was not my dog, it was the family dog. So it was more my mom taking care of her, And I never really, after that, I never saw myself. I didn't think of myself as an animal owner. I didn't know I could take care of another being, of another living creature. I even couldn't take care of plants back then. I was starting to be able to maintain a few plants alive, but honestly, no. I had just been spending time taking care of myself, or trying to take care of myself. So I wasn't sure. It was a big jump for me. It was a big thing. So I thought, okay, even that dog, after one night, it got taken away from me. That's a sign. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not responsible enough for a dog. I can't handle it. So I thought, okay, yada yada, all of these reasons we can give ourselves as for why we're not ready enough, we're not good enough, it's too much for us, we're not ready, all of this BS. But truth be told, it was not the right moment indeed. It doesn't mean that I was not good enough to have a dog or responsible to have a dog. It was just that it was not the right moment. I was living in an apartment and I was working long hours and spending quite a bit of time commuting, so really not ideal for having a dog for the first time. So at that time I thought, okay, well, I'm surrendering to the circumstances and I will see. I thought I will know. Let's see later, what happens. And then I kind of forgot about it. I was a bit sad, but, I moved on. And then I think it was about 2 years later, after a series of synchronicities, I adopted my 2 cats, Twinkle and Luna. All the signs were there and my situation was different. I had left that job. I had moved into a bigger place. It was still an apartment, but really big. And cats, it's not the same as dogs. And I was now working from home. When I felt the inkling to browse the animal rescue pages, Twinkle's face jumped out at me, and as soon as I saw her, I knew she was my cat. I went to visit her, and she seemed to be happy about me becoming her human. And everything went smoothly. The foster family was really nice. The agency was different. I had a better feeling that time. And everything worked out. And a month later, I got Luna, the second cat. This time she literally chose me. I had been advised to adopt a male since I already had a female. But when I went to visit the kitty family, I had fallen in love with the little male, kept hiding away. And honestly, I wasn't sure anyway if he was the one. I was like, oh, he's nice, but his little sister is also very cute. So I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I should take the male because that's what I'm being advised to, but do I really believe that's the right choice for me? So I thought, okay, let's see. I left my bag on the floor wide open and I thought I'd let him get in on his own time if he was meant for me, but he hid away, and the one who got in is Luna. She stayed, she came into the bag and she didn't want to leave. So I thought, that's my cat. She chose me. And she's very, very, very attached to me. Like, it's really a loving bond we have. In hindsight, I think now that for me, starting with cats was a better choice. It was better for my personality. And it was a great opportunity to get rid of my allergies. And I want to add a little disclaimer here. I'm not giving any medical advice at all. But in my case, I managed to not be allergic to cats anymore. I had been allergic all my life. So I always thought I could never have cats, But I had met some people who had cats and who told me they used to be allergic. And when I asked them how did they manage to stop being allergic, their answer was like, oh, I just got cats, I spent time with them and my allergy disappeared after a while. So that planted a seed within me, and I thought, okay, maybe that could happen. And that's what happened. After 3 weeks of sneezing, running nose, and teary eyes, my symptom disappeared. And now I can be surrounded with cats all day long and I feel nothing but love. So no more allergy. But anyway, back to my story. Don't worry, it's not a story only about cats and dogs. Well, it is, but I have some interesting points to make from that. So bear with me. So I was happy with my 2 cats and I thought, that's it. That was it, I have my 2 pets. I'm done. But in the back of my mind, I was fantasizing on that special time where, maybe I'd meet a great guy and we'd get a dog together and we'd go on walks with a dog and, all of this perfect picture in my head. But time passed by and that great guy hasn't shown up yet. I did date a guy in between, that had a dog, and that was very inspiring when I saw their complicity, and I felt that's something I could do. So in a way, that guy, even though he was not the right guy for me, it was a great experience because he showed me that it's totally feasible for me to have a dog. So anyway, these past few months, I've come back to this country I grew up in, so Tunisia. And there are lots of stray dogs here, and many of them look like Balto, that dog I had when I was a teenager. They really look similar. So I was reminded of her a lot, and I felt this, this attachment I had to her and this love. And every time I saw these dogs in the street, I would feel like a pinch in my heart, like, oh, poor dogs. Some are okay, but many are not doing so well. And I thought maybe there's another reason why I'm here, not like I'm here for some reasons that I'm conscious of, but maybe another one is to get a dog. Maybe that's why I come here after all. It's also to reunite with this childhood, all this childhood memory. But I did feel a bit scared because, it's huge. It's a huge commitment. And come on, I already have 2 cats and I'm not staying here many months. I will be traveling again. And actually, I don't know in which country I want to live in and all of that. So why adding more to my plate? Like, it didn't seem reasonable. But I was wondering, is that a fantasy or is that the right thing to do for me? And so I decided to let things happen on their own and not to force things and see, I don't want to adopt a dog. I didn't want to adopt a dog to just fill a void or just because I feel like playing with one, like, oh, dogs are so cute. I want to have one. Not that way at all, or just because I felt sorry for them, because if that was the case, I'd have already adopted dozens of pets, dogs and cats and birds and so on. So I knew, I know when I meet my dog, I'll know it's the right one for me. I would know it's the moment. And I met many dogs in the past few months, and a couple of times I thought they were the right ones for me. But since I had decided to be patient and really listening to the signs, I was soon shown that they were not for me and I was not for them. I kept going for my regular beach walks, bringing pet food with me and feeding the stray cats and dogs I meet along the way, because there are so many over here and so many of them hang by the beach near, there are some cafes, restaurants, hotels and fishing spots. They are smart. They know what they are doing. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not the moment. That's okay. I'll still do my bit. I'll still do what I can to help them and feed them, and that's enough. Until the 31st of December, when coming back from one of my walks, I came across a lanky dog, but she had the most beautiful eyes ever. She came to me, I fed her, she hung around for a bit and she left. The day after, as I came out for my walk, she saw me from afar, she ran to me. I fed her again, and then she looked at me with such a deep, kind look. I felt love. I felt a voice within me that said, "This is your dog." I had like a lightning. It was like love at not first sight, but love at second sight. And I really felt this deep within me, like she's the one. But of course, I really wanted to be sure. Am I dreaming? Like, is it wishful thinking? Is it reasonable? Maybe it's just what I imagine. Maybe she doesn't want to be adopted, because I think animals, they are entitled to their free choice and their free will. So I thought, okay, I'll come back every day and see how it goes. And I did. I came back every day for about 2 weeks. I kept bringing her food, and every time she came, she recognized me. She showed me she wanted to play. So we played, getting to know each other a little more every time, until I still felt this big feeling, this big knowing within, like she's the one, she's the one, she's the one. And I felt it was the right moment to bring her home. I was a bit worried that she would get kidnapped or killed or run over by a car, and so I didn't want to wait too long either. It took her a few days to be okay getting in the car, but finally she trusted me enough to stay there, and I was able to bring her home. And she really accepted me as a human, and I'm so glad I took her, because the vet said she's a very anxious dog. She's only 5 months. But she managed to survive, so it's on her own. She was alone. She didn't have siblings. She didn't have any other dogs around her, but she still managed to survive. So I'm really happy that she did, and I'm really happy that I can do my bit to give her a better life. She has lots of round spots on her muzzle and body, and she's a joyful dog. And I feel so joyful whenever I see her and think of her that I decided to call her Confetti. And funnily enough, I realized that my pet's initials are TLC. And if I put them together, talking about tender, loving care. So now it's been like 10 days that she's here with me at home, and I'm super happy about my decision. I love her to bits already, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit scared too. I know some people think it's crazy and irresponsible and maybe that's true. But if we were only to do the reasonable and responsible things, we wouldn't do much. We wouldn't be taking risks. We wouldn't be traveling. We wouldn't venture out of our little box, and would just be doing the things that we're supposed to do, and that would be so boring, because we can do so much more. Life is so much more interesting and exciting than we think. Like, yeah, we can have imagination, but I found that life is always more surprising. There's so many things we cannot think about, we don't know. And the more we explore, like, I'm not saying we need to explore all the time, but if we take this attitude of exploring and trying things and take risks and all of that, we can learn so much more about ourselves. It's so much enriching. And besides, having pets, I think, is less complicated than having kids, like human kids. So if people can have children all the time, caring for 3 pets seems feasible. I know there will be challenges, and there are already some, but I also know that I can handle them, and I can figure it out as I go along, as months go by, and it will be fine. Knowing I'm giving a better life to these animals fills me with joy and gratitude. I may not do it perfectly well, but I'm doing my best, and that's what counts. I know that, me doing my best is much better than the life they could have had out there in the street. And they give me so much, witnessing their innocence and their unconditional love, witnessing how kind and gentle they are, and the ability to be in the present moment. They're not holding grudges. They're always fully immersed in their sensations. I think we can learn so much from them. But of course, I know that having pets is not for everyone, and that's okay. I'm not trying to convince you to adopt an animal, although if you do, I'm super happy for you. But the reason why I'm sharing this, I'm sharing with you this story is because it has several points that I think are very helpful. We all have events from our younger years, be it childhood or during our adolescence or early adulthood, that deeply marked us. But somehow we decided that it was only linked to childhood, and that we need to drop it once we grow up. Here in this story, I'm giving the example of the dog and the cats, but it could be something else. Perhaps a special hobby or passion you loved but discarded because it was not practical, not reasonable, and all that. Perhaps, listening to music and dancing in the morning upon waking up. You loved that growing up, but somehow you're denying yourself this pleasure, maybe because you have to hurry, you have a job to go to, you have to be serious and responsible and all of that. Or perhaps you love to paint and now you seldom allow yourself to paint because you think you're not good enough. Maybe you didn't get serious training, or maybe you think, what's even the point? Maybe you're convinced you have better things to do, or there are so many other people more talented than you, so there's no point trying. Perhaps you think you have to focus on making money, or find the right mate, or figure everything out in your life. Once you're there, then you'll allow yourself these little pleasures. But in the meantime, you've got to live life in order and tick the boxes. But my friends, your life is happening now, right now, at this very moment. And I'm sure that deep down, there's a voice. There's this voice within you telling you how much it love you to do these things you love, you used to love and you still love. And there's nothing like divine timing. You never know when the right things for you will come along. Sometimes it takes 3 months, sometimes 1 year, sometimes 10 or 20 years. Trust the process, trust divine timing. Plant the seeds, set your intentions, dream, and take action when it's the moment, and then you can see what happens. What is for you will not pass you by. So perhaps it's not meant for you to be a painter, to be a professional painter for now. For example, this is just an example. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. I don't know. And you probably don't know either. We cannot force things to happen. But it doesn't mean that it should have happened only when you were 20, in your 20s, or by 30, or by 35, or by 40, because you need to have figured things out by then, by now, and now it's too late. Maybe it wasn't meant to be back then. Sometimes a no means not now. If it's meant for you, if you have this deep calling within, if you have this love, it will come. But you don't have to, I believe, you don't have to push, not to force things. Being clear on what you want is one thing, and that's great, and that's very helpful. But you also need to allow for the right circumstances to align and things to come to you, to meet you halfway, And then when you know it's right, deep inside you, in your bones, you can feel it. But at the same time, it's not well, in a way, it is a paradox, but like I'm saying, you have to be patient and wait. I think it's very important. But at the same time, don't wait forever to do the things you dream about. Seize the occasion. Sometimes you need to take action, take risks. You need to do the scary thing. At the end of the day, you're way more capable than you think you are. So you don't have to wait until the perfect moment. You have to wait, you can wait until the right moment, but not the perfect moment. And the trick is to know the difference. Because very often, the right timing is not the perfect timing. It's not perfect in the way you think it is. Life seldom takes shape the way we think it will be. I never knew I would come back to this country, and I would never know. And I didn't think, I'm going to adopt a dog here 20 years later and that. And I never knew I would move to Shanghai, and I never knew I would start a podcast. And none of these things. So at the end of the day, embracing surprises make things so much more interesting. And trusting your intuition is key here, because it will guide you when doing these scary things. It will help you figure things out along the way, and knowing the difference between the right moment and the perfect moment, which will never happen, by the way. in the example of becoming a professional painter, okay, maybe it didn't happen before because you had to learn so many things before, you had to experiment other things, and maybe it's not happening now because you also need to go through learning curves. But it doesn't mean, and by the way, I don't think anyone becomes a professional painter overnight. I'm saying painter, but it can be anything else, your heart desires. But the idea is like if you set the intention, you feel like deep within you, that's what you want, you can always do a little bit of it. You can explore, you can read about it, you can practice, you can take small actions right now. Enjoy your life right now. If this is something that gives you joy, don't deny it to yourself. And one thing will lead to another until the timing is right. So being open to updating your vision of yourself is really important here. And I think it's one of the greatest pleasures of life. I never thought of myself as someone who'd have pets. When I was in my 20s, I thought, no way, I'm allergic to animals' hair, and that's the end of that. Back then I thought, I'm going to be a fashion designer living in Paris forever. And my vision of my life could not go further than that. I didn't know. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm so glad life decided differently and that I got to reinvent myself in so many ways, and I hope it will continue. And in fact, I know it will, because life is cyclical. Everything is change. Everything moves. Everything grow and transform and transmute. I think that's the nature of life. And we all have creative energy. And what's amazing is we get to use this energy, this creativity, and we get to revisit and refine our dreams along the way. In last episode, I talked about this metaphor of life being our garden. So if your life is your garden and you're the landscape artist, you get to design it or redesign it according to circumstances. You can change your garden. Of course, you need to pay attention to the climate and the soil and all of that. Just in the way, like you want to change your life, your situation, you still have to do with your past, with your personality, with your skills, with everything that constitutes you, where you live, your financial situation, and so on. It doesn't mean you cannot do the things you want, but you need to take this into account and make changes accordingly. And the final point I want to make today is sometimes you need allies to help you slow down and remind you to savor the good things in life. In this story, in that current situation, my allies are my pets, my dog, my cats. They give me so much love and they really show me when it's the moment to slow down and also to see things from a different perspective. Sometimes I need a different kind of help. I need to spend more time with friends. I need to spend time. Sometimes I love to learn from strangers, just, sitting in a cafe and observing people around me. And sometimes I really need deep conversations with like-minded people. And sometimes I also need more. I need guidance and I need someone, a container, or someone to mirror me and to help me untangle the confusion, or help me see what I cannot see myself because I'm so wrapped up in my own thoughts. So if you keep finding yourself misunderstood and undervalued by others, constantly second guessing yourself, and your mind tends to spiral and your thoughts loop in your head without respite, or if you're feeling frustrated, depressed, or even trapped by your circumstances, like life has lost its flavors and you're ready for much more because deep down you want to share your creativity with the world, you want to create a better life for yourself, you want to feel fulfilled and finally appreciated for who you are. And if you'd like some help with that, then there are several ways we can work together this year. First is the Regenerative retreat in Provence in June. So this will be in a little bit more than 5 months, where along with a group of like-minded souls, you'll reconnect to your superpower, your senses, emotions, feelings, and creative energy. And there will be a healing bird discovery walk in the Ochre Canyons, which is one of the natural beauties of the south of France. So there will be some animal encounters in that retreat, because I really believe in the healing power. And I'm also opening up again my one-on-one coaching slots. These sessions are completely tailored to your needs and current situation. So that's an hour for you, just for you. I'm not forcing beauty through the mess and always keeping a practical approach to things. I support my clients through times of transition in harnessing the energy and embracing their unique nature for more personal power. It's all about taking proactive steps, cultivating self-love, and finding your center. So if you've been feeling caught in a personal time wrap, stuck on your personal version of Groundhog Day while it looks like everyone else is getting on with their life, light and unencumbered by such heaviness, please know that you are not alone. I've been there. Things can change. You can dream it up all over again. If this resonated with you and know you're ready for support, do reach out through my website, www.rimcreativenergy.com, for a session. I'd love to help. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if it has inspired you, please share it around you. Also, if you feel called to it, please subscribe to the podcast and leave me a review. It really helps to spread the word out. All your questions are welcome. You can send them to me on Instagram at rim.creativenergy.com or email me via my website, rimcreativenergy.com. And don't worry, I'll share in the show notes exactly where to find me. Until next time, sending you loving creative energy.